Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll be recapping the NFL's Week 10, which finally went our way with our locks of the week. We'll be talking about a little bit of news from the Kansas City Royals and their offseason. And then eventually we'll get to the NFL's Week 11 preview and our new locks of the week. So, Mike, since the Chiefs were on a bye this week, week 10, our interests, were maybe more focused on our betting picks, maybe more than any actual games that we had. Our stakes in it were more on the betting side. And we were finally victorious, Mike. We're 6-0 this week. Should we just celebrate that instead of talking about the games directly, or should we just maybe that
Yeah,
should be our lead here this
I think we
time,
should
right?
lead off with
This is our
our
victory.
victory. Yeah, we this is finally our detractors who would just go pick against us would have gone 0-6. Uh they would have received their comeuppance this week finally. And I wonder if
Yes.
maybe it is just the lack of the distraction of the Chiefs that led us to each going 3-0 in our locks of the week. So there actually were locks in people who have stuck out with the Morning Trip Power Hour locks of the week would have been rewarded this week with three with six exceptional picks in this week. So yeah, why don't we just talk about the locks because we'll talk about several of the games with our locks of the week, and we can talk about anything else that interests us. But I think we covered a lot of the big games even. Um,
Yeah,
this week with our locks, ones that we were especially interested in. But would you like to do the honors and go first, Dr. Scaff? Talk about your first lock of the week and your first victory.
sure. Let's see. My first pick was in the Baltimore Minnesota game. I had the Ravens at -3.5. Uh, the actually didn't watch. I don't think any of this game. But the final score in that game was Baltimore ended up winning 27-19, 8-point victory, 5.5 clear of the 4.5 clear, I guess, of the no, yes, what they needed anyway. So yeah, a relatively easy win for Baltimore. Mike, did you actually watch this game? Was it close? Was my bet close to failing, or was it an easy one for me to take the win here on that one?
Um, I didn't watch that. I happened not to watch that one either, so I don't really no. I'll have to look at the box score uh real quick. And see what happened. It looks like it was the Ravens kind of had they were down a little bit at the beginning, and then they kind of stayed ahead in the second half. So, but it was a fairly close. It was like a fairly close game. It included at least one 2-point conversion by the Ravens to get the 8 points. Um,
Ooh,
Scored, and there were 2-point conversions that were missed by Minnesota. So
including
maybe
one late apparently.
one late.
So
Yeah. So Minnesota scored their touchdown late to get within 8. Um,
yeah, they could have taken it down to 6, but that still would have been okay for me
that seems strange that they
had they
went
made that
for a
2 point.
It seems strange that they went for a 2-point conversion. Then why not just go down 7?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Um,
know.
but the Vikings had several turnovers, 3 turnovers, so that kind of was maybe the difference, and more penalties. Um, And yeah, the Ravens, again with Jackson playing, the Ravens are a much better team. Uh, but and so then the Vikings are, um, and I don't see the Vikings. I guess are better probably now with McCarthy back than they were with Carson Wentz. But McCarthy didn't have a
Yeah.
particularly good game. I will actually make a bet involving the Vikings in my locks of the week in week 11. That will also not be pro Vikings, but. Yeah, looks like now the Ravens are 4-5, only one game out of first place now in the NFC North,
They've
behind
won
the Pittsburgh
three in a
Steelers
row, right?
in a row. Um, do you think the Steelers will be able to hold off the Ravens, or do you think the Ravens are inevitable?
I think it's inevitable, Mike.
As long as
I don't know.
Jackson stays healthy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. So yeah, if yeah he stays healthy enough to lead the team, then yeah, I think they're inevitable.
Mhm.
Same old, same old. It's what's going to end up being this. My
Yeah,
assumption.
the Ravens have a pretty easy schedule, I think, coming the rest of the way. They play at the Browns, home against the Jets, home against the Bengals, the next three games, and then they have home against the Steelers, at Bengals. I think it's a little hard at the end of the season because they have th the last three games actually that are pretty tough. Home against the Patriots, at the Packers, at the Steelers. So that could possibly sink them if they end up losing a game here or there because they could easily lose two out of three of those last three, I think,
Yeah.
even with Jackson healthy. But um, yeah, it's a fairly easy stretch. They can rack up some wins in the next several games, but um, yeah, I hope they end up losing it. I hope the Steelers end up getting the division, and the Lamar Jackson led Ravens are on the outside looking in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the teams that is best, even with the, rise of New England, rise of Denver, rise of Indianapolis this year. I still think the Ravens are probably one of the best teams in the AFC and the one team, maybe one of the most likely teams to knock off the Chiefs if they make it into the playoffs. So,
Uh,
um,
I don't want to hear that,
but
Mike.
yeah, yeah. Well, you'd rather hear than is about my lock of the week. I guess we'll start with my first pick, which was the last game of the week, which was the Monday night game, Philadelphia at Green Bay. I actually got a better number on this game than it ended up being. I had Philadelphia plus 2.5. It narrowed to plus 1.5 as kickoff rolled around. So most people were on the bettors were on my side taking this game. Philadelphia not only covered the spread against Green Bay, they actually won that game 10-7. Very low scoring contest, defensive struggle. Wasn't the prettiest of games. It was fairly cold in Green Bay, but it wasn't like blistering cold. So I'm not exactly sure why no team could score. Um,
Uh,
but it was a defensive struggle to say the least, and um, it turned out and there weren't a lot of turnovers either. So it was just neither team. I guess there were three turnovers, there were three fumbles total. Um,
well, the first possession, the first quarter was just two possessions, but a punt and a fumble after 16 plays for the
yeah.
Eagles. And then it was punt, 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 fumble downs for the to end the half. So
hmm
like, yeah, nothing really offensively happened in the first half, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was yeah, so my under bets worked well with the this week as well in that game at least. But yeah, they I could have gone under or I could have my Philadelphia but Philadelphia won outright 10-7, so they covered not only covered the spread but won outright. Actually on the big board I had them as my upset pick as well. So I ended up sweeping the Monday night game
And the under. So yeah,
and the under. Yeah, so I had the
yeah.
under.
You picked that one perfectly.
Yeah, I didn't think only 17 points would be scored, but it turned out to be way under and a game that rolled my way. So that was the last piece of the puzzle to make us 6-0 this week. So how about your next lock of the week?
My second pick was in one of those high scoring games, Detroit at Washington. I had Detroit at minus 8.5, and they won that one fairly handily. It was the final score was 44-22. One of two 44-22 games this week. Yeah, Washington was without Jaden Daniels, so Marcus Mariota was in instead. Uh, but it looks like, yeah, Detroit ran the ball well. Gibson 142 yards on the ground. Goff got three touchdown passes and 320 yards in the air. So yeah, easy win, 22-point win for Detroit, more than enough to secure that 8.5 point spread. And
Yeah,
yeah, I guess that's it.
44-22. This is the second week in a row that Detroit was favored by 8.5. Uh, and this week they actually covered it, that 8.5
Yeah, you
point.
you had picked them the week before -8.5, and they
They lost
were
outright.
unsuccessful.
They lost outright to the Minnesota Vikings. So
Yeah,
but this 44-22 game, there was another 44-22 game between Detroit and Washington 44-22. Seattle against Arizona was also 44-22. And an earlier game this year featuring Dallas against, I can't remember what, maybe it was Washington. I can't remember what team it was also 44-22. So there have been, in terms of scoregamis, there have been four games that finished 44-22, and three of those have been this season, which seems to be odd. Only one game ever before had been 44-22. That was the actually Chiefs lost to the Raiders in 1967. But speaking of scoregamis, my next bet was a scoregami. That is a score that had never been achieved before in NFL history. That was a 36-29 victory by Houston over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Texans were actually favored when I made the bet. They were favored by 1.5 points, but then it became clear that um, CJ Stroud was not going to play, and it was going to be Davis Mills. So the line flipped, and the Jacksonville Jaguars became 1.5 point favorites. So I got the worst number possible basically on that game, but uh, Davis Mills came through in the clutch and led the Texans to a big comeback victory over uh, the Jaguars, and they won 36-29. So Houston ended up winning by 7 when they were favored by 1.5, and when I made the bet. So that was my second lock of the week. Worked out very well, about as well as it could have that week. Davis Mills had a through several second half big second half comeback for Davis Mills. A couple touchdown passes in the fourth quarter that sealed the victory for the Texans over their rivals from Jacksonville.
that was one of those ones that infuriated me because, like, I had more time to make my decision on the big board, and I actually did go with Jacksonville, assuming that Davis Mills wasn't as good of a replacement as CJ Stroud. So I got suckered into that. I went against you, Mike, and then I paid for it. So
Yeah, Houston scored 26 points in the fourth quarter,
ridiculous.
almost as many points as Denver scored in the fourth quarter against the Giants a few weeks ago. So they had a 19-point fourth quarter deficit. They came back and won. So they were down 29-10 going into the fourth quarter. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, it was a
And
big.
they were up by one, and then with no time left, though, Mike, fumble recovery, return for a touchdown. Is that did that does that you like that one better than two? Did you know the game ended that way?
I did not know that covered for me.
Yeah, so that you got the cover on no time left
Fumble
return for
recovery.
touchdown. That didn't matter even except for you to cover this game, really, right? Because
Yeah,
they, you know, if he picks
yeah,
up the
the
fumble and just sits down, they still win by one, right?
Will Anderson sack. Yeah, at the end, fumbles recovered by Rankins, and then Rankins returned it. Yeah, that was the. I didn't realize that was the one. I just saw that I thought it was the touchdown passes that led him, but it was the fumble recovery that even made it even more of a crazy victory on my part. Yeah, that was one of the more that would have been one of the more improbable finishes of all time. So
Yeah,
I didn't realize that game ended that. I wasn't really watching that game. I just saw the score at the end, um,
yeah.
and I
Well,
saw that.
this fourth quarter looks insane anyway. It's a 12-yard touchdown pass from Davis Mills, with a 2-point conversion, and then uh another touchdown pass, Dalton Schultz. They went for two again to try to bring it within 3 points. but the two-point conversion failed. They got another touchdown on Davis Mills' run, 14 yards.
Hmm.
Went for two again, also failed. So they still only had a 1 point lead, but then they get that fumble recovery to cover the spread.
Yeah, so there were four touchdowns in a row scored by the Texans. None of them featured an extra point attempt. Uh,
Right? No kick attempts. Yes.
because there were three 2-point conversions attempts, and then when time expired, so they didn't need to kick it. So that was
Unnecessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew Wright as the kicker now for the Texans, who of course was formerly a Chiefs kicker briefly when he replaced Harrison Butker during one of Butker's injuries a couple of years ago. So, um, but yeah, that was a crazy. Uh, at one point, Houston had 100% probability of winning. Uh, I think no, it was I mean Jacksonville had what was it? Let's see, 97.9% possibility of winning. Uh, going into the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And then, yeah, then Houston took it away. So, um,
Ridiculous, Mike. Just ridiculous. But you got your cover.
I
Last
did.
second meaningless play for the Texans victory, but
It reminds me a little bit of what was it, the Eagles against the um, Rams game when the Eagles blocked that kick at the end and returned it for a touchdown, and that covered for a lot of people uh,
yes.
earlier this year. So there have been some really interesting covers. Because if I had gotten a better number, if I had gotten the number at the end, it wouldn't have mattered. If it had gotten plus 1.5 for Houston, um, they were already they got it within one. They were up by one, so it wouldn't have mattered. But this minus one and
Yeah.
a half, yeah, that was. I didn't realize how extraordinary that win was. So thank
Just
you, Dave.
ridiculous,
Thank
Mike.
you, Houston Texans defense, and thank you for losing that fumble, Trevor Lawrence.
Ridiculous.
How about your third lock of the week, Dr. Scaff? I don't know if you can top the craziness of the second lock. I'm glad we looked more into it because I didn't realize it was so uh, remarkable.
It was one of the crazy games of the week, and in particular, it was a crazy game, for how we handle our picks in this, and so there's all this flipping of the line even before we get to the game, and yeah, and then the game has a spectacular finish and sort of meaningless for the game, but important for the better, specifically you. All right,
Hmm.
ridiculous, Mike. It's ridiculous, but congratulations. That helped us get to 6-0.
It did.
Yeah. So my third pick, which we already sort of alluded to, was in that other 44-22 game. But this time I had the over in that game, so that was a pretty easy one. Arizona at Seattle. The over-under number was 45 and a half. Seattle put up a ton of points in the first half. It looks like, yeah, it was 38-7
So it
at the
covered it.
half.
Yeah.
So they were already like within, an extra point or 2 point conversion basically of covering. That's
Yeah.
like all they needed. 38-7 at the half, Mike. So that one looked I was, pretty confident in that game. So they just needed any scoring in the second half. Well, there were a few scores. Uh, so yeah, final score 44-22 for Seattle, easily covering that 45 and a half.
Yeah. Seattle almost had it by themselves by the end of the game. They just
All right.
44-2 game would have, but you got 22,
Yeah.
so that turned out to be an easy over for you.
There was
Um,
a safety in a game early this week. Did you see there was like a 3-2 score for a while in
oh,
one
I
game,
didn't
and
see
then
that. No.
I think it was like 5-3 for a little bit.
Nice.
I don't remember which game that was in though. Oh well, whatever.
Well, my final game all as well was an over under. and it turned out to be very different, maybe from what any of us had expected, but still went under. And that was the Buffalo at Miami game, where Buffalo was a big favorite over Miami in Miami, but Miami ended up winning that game handily, 30-13. The over/under though was 50 and a half, so 30-13 is 43, so it stayed under pretty easily. But yeah, I don't think either of us thought that was going to be the result. I thought maybe 30-13 Buffalo win, the way Buffalo beat the Chiefs and have been playing the last couple of weeks. But now it seems like maybe there's some questions. Is Buffalo, how good is Buffalo if they can be manhandled by really a dying Dolphins team that has really struggled the past several weeks. They traded away some of their better players of the trade deadline. Mike McDaniel is really only there, just to walk out the season. Um, you know, thought maybe he would even be fired before the season's over, but I think he's the only one who has the key to the offense. So they need somebody to run it. Um, although they did fire Brian Dable in New York because of the what happened this week. Another fourth quarter blown uh, lead by the Giants to lose, and now former Chiefs assistant Mike uh, is the new interim head coach in um, New York. But yeah, the Giants ended up winning that game. 24-20 over the Bears, but after scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter. But yeah, my game though, my Buffalo Miami game, I think was very surprising. I don't think neither of us saw that coming. I was actually in a bar in Winchester, Virginia, watching some of that game because it was for some reason we stumbled into a Buffalo Bills bar in Winchester, and it was a cider house in Winchester that was just also a Buffalo Bills bar, which I assume is the randomest uh, Buffalo Bills. Why would there be a Buffalo Bills bar in Winchester, Virginia? But so the Bills fans were not happy about what was going on
They're
in
not.
that.
Yeah. Were they all talking about the firing of their GM the previous week? Was that what was the main topic of conversation there? Because that seems like that would be really important too.
For the Rams, I mean, for the Rams, for the Dolphins, yeah, they lost their GM.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, Miami for Miami fans. Yeah.
yeah, they weren't Miami fans. They were Buffalo Bills
No,
fans.
maybe Buffalo is saying this is why we lost is because Miami fired their GM and the players
Maybe they got
responded to
a
the
little
firing of the GM.
a
And then they got
dead
upset
cat
about that.
bounce.
There.
Yeah,
Now we get it. Yeah.
yeah. You salvaged that one, Dr. Scaff.
So there we
Uh,
go. Finally, I
but yeah,
finally came back around on that one.
sometimes the firing of a coach can lead to a motivation the next week. Uh, so we have one of those games next week because the Giants are going to be playing with fired coach. They're playing against the Packers. So, remember the Chiefs fired Todd Haley and had interim coach Romeo Crennel. They ended up beating the vaunted Green Bay Packers one year, about 2013, something like that ish.
Yeah.
Um, but 2012, maybe something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
That era before Andy Reid, but the end of the Romeo Crennel, or the end of the Scott Pioli, Haley Crennel era. But yeah, that's what basically got Crennel the job against because that victory against the Packers. So maybe Mike Kafka can lead the Giants to a victory over the Packers next week. But I don't think either of us are picking that game as our either of our locks of the week. But um, anyway, we went 6-0 this week. Any other games stick out to you that were interesting last week that we want to talk about, or should we move on to talk about a little bit about the Royals and their off-season um, exploits?
Maybe just of note, at least for Chiefs fans, both Denver and the Chargers ended up gutting out wins. Does that make you more worried about the season from the Chiefs' perspective, though? That both of those teams got wins that we maybe had hoped that Pittsburgh could have upset. the
The
Chargers,
Chargers
or
especially.
the Raiders could have like shown up and scored, more than just the one touchdown and
Yeah, they
maybe
barely
up in
lost though, 10 to
Detroit.
7. That was an ugly Thursday
Denver.
night game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
their teams
yeah,
have
so week 10 opened with a 10-7 game and finished with a 10-7 game. Is
the
that's kind of
bookends.
an odd week anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it seems to be that the Chiefs, the Chargers and the Broncos aren't going to go away. So the Chiefs really have to. They have three more games remaining against the Chargers and Broncos. So if the Chiefs win those three games, I think they can possibly slide past both of those teams and win the West. But they'll have to win. I think they'll have to go 3-0 in those three games to win the West. Um, and that'll be tough because one of those games is going to be at Denver, and that is this coming week, week 11. We'll talk about that game. But the Chiefs are actually favored by 3.5 points at Denver, which is a little surprising to me, maybe surprising to
Yeah.
you. But oh, we didn't talk about the big board this week.
No, that's I was also going to add that. So yes.
Yeah, so the big board turned out to be so we were each 3-0. I was a little bit more successful on the big board this week. I ended up winning about 700 uh, and $26. You ended up losing about a little less than $1,200. So I caught up to you a bit on the big board. I'm still about $2,000 behind you, even though we're both in the red still. This week, it also kind of goes to show how easy it is to lose money and how hard it is to make money in these things. Because even if you do really, really well, you can only make a little bit of money. It's much easier to lose a lot of money than it is to make a lot of money in these contests. So
Yeah. It looks like the successful play this week, which really helped you, was a sort of like hedge or the threading the needle strategy, where you bet on the underdog to cover, but the favorite to win. And I
I did
think
that
because
this
I
week.
had
Like,
done that earlier in the year in one week where it was successful, but this week you really killed it on that one. I think what you got four of those, right? I think this week, four of the
yeah,
five, something like
I got
that.
a few. Yeah, I picked the underdog. At least in the Atlanta Indianapolis game ended up being a 6 point victory for Indianapolis. It was 6.5, so I picked Atlanta on the spread. Uh, and then I picked if it had been at Indianapolis, rather been not in a game in turned out Berlin, rather we were thinking it was going to be a Spanish game. The
Yeah.
next week is going to be the Spain game. This was the game in Berlin. So the Colts ended up pulling out that win 31-25, winning by 6 when they were favored by 6.5. So um, and then there were a couple of other games in there where I got the underdog.
And that I think that was an overtime game too, wasn't it? So they didn't, and I think that what I think Atlanta had the first possession and did not score. So yeah, I think that's how that went. And then Indy scored a touchdown, but they don't need to kick the extra point because the game was over, right? So
Yeah, that's a
that's how that game ended at 6 and not 7.
7.
So it ended on a, 1/2 point shy on a technicality.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I got lucky in a couple of places. It also goes to show how fortunate you can be just because by little quirks like that, and how people can get these bad beats even though maybe they made the right analytical pick. But
I mean, if the same like outcome happened on the field, but the coin toss had gone the other way, Indy goes down and gets a touchdown. They have to kick the extra point because both teams get to possess the ball now
yeah,
this season, right?
yes,
And then Atlanta gets the ball and they fail at scoring. Then it does end up a
a
seven
seven
point
point
win. So it's just on the
significant
on the
margin.
so it's really like the flip of the coin ended up determining the chances of the bettors winning and the chance of the bettors losing in this case, right? So
It did.
quirks of the game, Mike. I think you're spot on with
Yes.
that description.
Well, we'll talk about the quirks of the NFL games in Week 11 in a little bit, but do you want to talk a little bit about the Royals and their off-season exploits? You have a
Yeah,
few transactions to discuss, I
yeah. There
believe.
were there were kind of a flurry of moves in the last week. One story that came up, actually I think is interesting. The other ones, maybe may or may not be interesting. to you or anyone really, honestly. But Bobby Witt and Michael Garcia each won Gold Gloves. Bobby Witt also won Platinum Glove, I believe, the best defender in the league overall, I guess, as voted by fans this time. So those are relatively interesting stories. Uh, and let's see, who was no Noah Camera ended up finishing, I think, fourth in the Rookie of the Year,
of the year, yeah.
which is decent. I think maybe we had,
He
as
was
Royals
he
fans, had
was I
hoped
believe he was the
maybe
top
get a
rated.
little bit higher.
I think he was the top rated pitcher.
Yeah,
The rookie year. He was Nick Kurtz, of course, won the rookie of the year because he had a
right.
fantastic. He was
Well deserved too.
he was the pick right before
Unanimous
the pick
pick.
right before Caglione in
I
the
think
draft.
so.
So
Yeah.
if that had switched, would you think Kurtz would have had a season like that with the Royals? If he had a season like that with the Royals would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sure, probably.
My expectation would be actually that their careers would be reversed at this point. Like Caglione would be having a great season, and Kurtz would be like struggling. If the Royals picked Kurtz and
So
the A's picked Caglione, that'd be my guess.
the
But
Sacramento Kings, or just the plain athletics right
it's
now
the
with
Athletics. Yeah, they're the cityless, stateless, although they're
athletics.
in Sacramento,
Yeah.
ridiculously. Uh, other stories that came up in this last week. The Royals ended up declining the mutual option on Michael Lorenzen. It's unlikely that he's going to be returning next season. Randall Grichuk declined his mutual option for with the Royals. Then either of those planned departures, you think are a major factor on next year's team?
Well, Lorenzen was a pretty good kind of number five starter, long reliever type. So the Royals must feel like they have some good options to replace him, or maybe they'll try to bring him back. I don't know, but it seems like the Royals have made a lot of trades recently in the later part of the season, and now in the offseason as well to bring in some more potential starting pitching, some young starting pitching. So maybe they think they don't need Lorenzen, but I think Lorenzen was a good kind of swing starter guy. Maybe not the best. Top of the line starter, but somebody who could fill in and have really good starts every once in a while um, for you. So I think he'll be missed next
Yeah,
year.
he had been pretty solid. So yeah, that's
Grichuk, I think was just a kind of stopgap outfield move, and I during post trade deadline, and he had a couple of good games for the Royals, but it wasn't terribly outstanding.
well, they brought him in to be a platoon player with Mike Yastrzemski, I think, was pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
So they're like, I mean, creating a platoon where there wasn't one and doesn't need to be one is only one of them is really probably going to succeed. But that's usually how that goes. Um, let's see. There was also from injury news. I think Alec Marsh, who missed most of last, I think missed all of last season actually, had to have a different surgery and is likely to be out for another significant
Another.
portion. At least most likely being out for maybe all of next year. I guess we'll find out. And another injured player they finally did release though too. Kyle Wright has been released by the Royals.
We talked about Kyle Wright a bit on this program as being a potential hidden gem starter because he had 120 games with the Braves a few years ago, and
And a
maybe
Cy Young.
in a side, yeah, and turns out that no, he's probably I guess probably done then if the Royals got rid of or just he doesn't have a they don't see him as having a spot in the Royals rotation, which is
Yeah. But they spent 2 years on him trying to get him back to the majors, and he made a couple of efforts this season to throw significant pitches, and something still wasn't right, and apparently they've given up on him at least.
yeah,
So if he continues to come back, it's not going to be with the Royals. But
not
it's
going to be the
unfortunate
Royals.
that they gave up a prospect to get him, and then they've given up on him already. It's a little bit unfortunate,
Mhm.
but part of the gamble and making trades. A couple other minor player moves. I guess that Salvador Perez extension was finalized, 2 year extension. Uh, the Royals did hire a an assistant hitting coach from Milwaukee, who was an assistant hitting coach in Milwaukee.
And Milwaukee had a good season last year, so
Yeah, without having like a lights out hitting, everybody was sort of mediocre, but nobody, yeah, no outstanding hitters on Milwaukee. Is a lot of sort of average hitters. So is that the lofty goals that the Royals are aiming for here with this going after Milwaukee's assistant hitting
this is
coach, which is always hard to tell how important an assistant hitting coach is in an organization, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah. And they've kind of signed a few utility type players, infielder, one outfielder, a couple of relief pitchers, I think, but no big moves yet. Some local guys, I think that they brought in actually, but yeah, is any of that interesting to you so far?
Well, it's interesting enough. I don't think it's interesting enough for a lengthy discussion on the topic, but it's nice that you're bringing these topics up, I believe, Dr.
Yeah,
Scott.
they did happen in the last week, so there's
Yes.
rarely that much information in 1 week in the off season though, so
And I
it's
believe
even
they made a
worth.
trade with the Giants, and they picked up a starting pitcher for another, and they traded somebody else away.
Yeah, it's like a swap of AAA slash quadruple A kind of players.
Yeah, they traded Mason Black to the Royals for exchange for Logan Martin. Uh, so it's the second trade with the Giants since uh, it's just a trade of kind of disappointing prospects, I think.
Yeah,
So change of scenery will do good for either of them. And second trade because they had Yastrzemski trade in past summer with the Giants. So uh,
right. Yeah, nothing crazy exciting. Yeah, I think two of the hitting prospects that they picked up were from the KC area. Connor Kaiser is coming to us from the Diamondbacks roster, who apparently played high school ball in Stillwell, uh, which is just outside of KC. K and Cameron Meisner. I believe the Royals actually drafted uh, out of high school from Missouri, but somewhere in the state of Missouri, but he did not sign. Ended up playing college, going to college, and somebody else drafted him, I think, out of Mizzou, actually. So they sort of like acquired some local guys. But again, nothing probably of players like expecting to be on the opening day roster. My probably not. Would be my guess.
probably not. So yeah, I think well, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens as time goes on. Maybe these moves mean that a bigger trade is on the horizon or something like that for the Royals. I know the Royals are probably looking for outfielders again. Um, you hope Caglione develops as a good one, but you probably want at least another bat in the lineup somewhere. Um,
I don't know where you're gonna find it. I don't know where you're gonna give up for it either, because there's really not a whole lot.
Well, the Royals have, I guess maybe the Royals have maybe an abundance of starting pitching at this point compared to some teams. So
Well,
maybe
they did, I guess, but if they're letting
Lorenzen
a
go.
guy go that had made a lot of starts in the last couple of years in Lawrence and somebody that they'd hoped could make a return to the majors in Kyle Wright, then maybe their depth at starting pitcher isn't quite as
Yeah,
strong. Because Lorenzen, they didn't like sign to a 2-year deal to trade him somewhere, like make a favorable deal so he becomes an asset on the trade market. But just declining the option isn't doesn't do anything for the Royals, right? Because he's just
yeah,
gone, right?
yeah. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, they could have like tried to overwrite the end of his contract and with a new one instead of yeah just declining the option. That's usually means that they're not working on another deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So, well, want to move on to week 11 then in the NFL?
Sure.
I guess our biggest story is going to be the Chiefs at Denver at Mile High Stadium. 3.5 point favorites, the Chiefs. 5-4 record against Denver's 8-2 record. You'd think at least just looking at the records that the Chiefs would be underdogs, especially at Denver. But then the way Denver's played, they played a lot of close games and kind of eked out several victories. So maybe their record's a bit more gaudy than it should be. Um, were you surprised about the Chiefs' 3.5 point favorite status? Do you think they should be? Is that going to be one of your locks of the week? You're going to pick the Chiefs minus 3.5 at Denver?
No, I think if Denver was favored, it'd be an easy pick, I think. But uh, I really don't know what's going to happen in this game yet. The Chiefs are out of the bye. Andy Reid's got a great record coming out of the bye. But Denver's not, got kind of a mini bye, right? Because they played the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's as much of an advantage as you would hope. Will they be getting out of the bye?
Yeah, well, I guess like Bo Nix hasn't been playing particularly well, except that couple
Yeah.
quarters here and there. So maybe that's good for the Chiefs. The Patrick Surtain is still, I think, going to be out of the game. So that's, the Chiefs secondary. Chiefs facing slightly depleted Denver secondary. Looks like Josh Simmons uh, is going to be back.
Well, that was the last I had heard. Is that's still
I
the
think so.
expectation?
I think it is. It's still early maybe too early to tell, but it seems like he's going to be back. So maybe the
Yeah.
Chiefs looking up on the offensive line, and also maybe Trey Smith will be healed, be back in the starting lineup. So maybe the Chiefs starters will be back on the line. I believe wasn't Sua Mata'ia, wasn't he a bit banged up too? I can't remember last game.
Doesn't look like he's on the early
Maybe
injury report.
maybe I was just imagine maybe so there was a third lineman. Oh, it was Jawan Taylor was
Juwan
uh
Taylor is on the
because Wanya Morris, I believe, was playing for Taylor in the Bills game a bit.
yeah, Juwan Taylor is listed as questionable, as is Isaiah Pacheco, though. Is that
Pacheco's back to questionable. I was thinking Pacheco was
yeah.
out uh, against
Last
Buffalo.
week he was out. I think he wanted to try to go, right? Didn't he? But I think they decided not to, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably good that he might come back. I think having Pacheco as a change of pace with Hunt, plus having Brashard Smith makes the running back room a lot better. The Chiefs don't have a great running attack this year. And Mahomes didn't really run it at all against Buffalo. He couldn't really get out of the pocket, it didn't seem, and get those first downs. And that was maybe something different that the Chiefs maybe if they play against the Bill because they're going to have to play against a very good pass rush against Denver. So Mahomes will probably have to scramble a few times to pick up some of those first downs with Benito and some of the other good Denver defensive linemen and linebackers. But hopefully they can do that. So hopefully the Chiefs can pull out a victory because if they don't, they're 5-5 and they're really they'll have to maybe need some help to get in the playoffs even if the way things go. So I think winning this game is going to be very important for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yes. So what kind of game do you expect to see from this? You think it's going to be a tight, low scoring game, or do you think it's going to be kind of a shootout kind of game, or what's your expectation?
I I think it'll probably be not as low scoring as the Raiders Broncos game, but maybe something closer to the Chiefs Bills game. Hopefully with the Chiefs on top, something middle kind of 2021 kind of in the middle scoring. But I'm going to go with the under. So hopefully it'll be the Chiefs scoring 28, maybe the Broncos only scoring 10 or something like that. But I hope it's a relatively easy win for the Chiefs, but it's gonna be tough in Denver.
Maybe over-under is not super high in this one. It's only 43 and a half. Most
43.
Chiefs games like tend to, push that closer to 50.
Yeah, with I guess it's because the Broncos have a good defense and they haven't been scoring a lot of points. So I guess Vegas doesn't see a lot of points being scored. So maybe, I'm gonna go with the under. I've still this past week I went blanket under and I was at least 50-50.
Right.
Um so maybe I'm gonna go with all unders again this week. Just to
You did do better everywhere else last week, so the
yeah,
over under was still your weakest
it was my
at
weakest.
7-7. But you just because you did so well at the spreads this time. What did you do? Like 10 out of 14 this week?
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Yeah.
good. It's pretty good. 10 out of 14. It's pretty good, especially on a weird week with crazy upsets and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so hopefully this week will be
nice
just
job.
as good, and our locks of the week will be just as good. You want to? Maybe I'll start out with my first lock of the week.
Sure.
Uh, I'm going another. So the Broncos Chiefs is going to be one of the late games in the afternoon window, 3 o'clock Arrowhead time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Another 4 o'clock Eastern time is going to be the Rams at home against the Seahawks. The Rams are 2.5 point favorites at home. So I think. Yeah, I think so. I think the Rams are going to win that game. 2.5 points isn't very much. So I think they'll win that game at least a field goal. So I'm going Rams minus 2.5 at home against Seattle. So basically, it's basically a money line play, kind of disguised as a spread because I got less than a field goal. So usually most games are a field goal, usually determined by a field goal or more. So um, I'm kind of playing that strategy. So I think the Rams are going to win, and so I think that since I think they're going to win, I think they're probably going to win by more than 2.5. So I got that little bonus. If it had been 3.5, I don't know what I would have done, but 2.5, I'm going to bet on the Rams.
Yeah. Both teams are kind of been playing pretty well the last few weeks, at least, and scoring some points. So I'm actually going to make a pick in this game too, but not on the Rams. I'm not sure how this game's going to turn out, but I do think this has all the hallmarks of a high-scoring game, which I know you're not going to pick, but I do think that's how this game is going to turn out. Over under numbers relatively high though, 48 and a half. Seattle put up 44 last week, so against a division rival there also in Arizona. So I do think this will be a high-scoring game. Both teams capable of scoring at least in the mid to upper 20s. So I think that's going to tip that over. So I've got Seattle at the Rams over 40 and a half, Mike.
I don't think
My
that's a bad bet. I'm going under since I'm going all under,
yeah,
but if I had to make individual bets, maybe I would consider an over in that game. So I don't think it's a bad decision. But I like the Rams in that game at home. The way Stafford's been playing, the way yeah, he's been having a really good season this year. So that was my first lock of the week. Rams minus 2.5. And your lock of the week was over 48.5. LA at home against Seattle. My second lock of the week uh, is another divisional NFC game. Actually, all three of my locks of the week are divisional NFC games, which is a little unusual. Um,
yeah.
I have Chicago at +3 at Minnesota. I think Chicago is a better team right now than the Vikings are. I think I think Caleb Williams has been playing pretty well. They're coming off a kind of comeback victory against the Giants, so I think they're on a roll. I think they can at least keep it very close in Minnesota, and I would say they're going to win outright probably. Um, and so I picked the Bears +3 at Minnesota as my second lock of the week.
And they did have their big, nice comeback game here last week, right? So the Bears
Yeah,
may be riding high from that.
let's hope. And the Vikings had a kind of lackluster home performance against the Ravens. Maybe they'll bounce back against the Bears. Maybe they'll just kind of continue that lackluster performance.
Yeah, makes sense. My second pick, I'm gonna go sort of against maybe the Chiefs homerism type picks. I'd like to see the Chiefs make up some ground in the division, but hopefully they will win the game against Denver. But the other game, the team that's ahead of them in the division rankings is the Chargers. They've got a game at Jacksonville. Chargers are only favored by 3 in this one, but this seems like one of those games that the Chargers would be suited to win fairly handily. Again, by likely more than a field goal would be my expectation. So, for my second pick of the week, I've got Chargers -3 at Jacksonville, Mike.
Yeah, Chargers have been playing really well. Yeah, it's one of those things where but both of those teams are kind of competing with the Chiefs in playoff positioning. So in some way, you'd want both of those teams to lose somehow.
Right.
But I think, yeah, the Chargers are, I think, a better team than the Jaguars are. So I don't think that's a bad bet. And it's a cross country flight for the Chargers, but it's a warm weather game. So I don't think it'll be although it's an early start for a West Coast team, so maybe that's something. But I still think the Chargers are a better team um, it's a better team than the Jaguars. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad bet. Three is a little bit a risky bet because you might be able to end up hedging. Uh, um,
And it
uh,
was with the push.
Push, yeah, getting a push. So you might not.
No,
There's possible 2-0-1 finish or something like that that we could deal with.
right. We could still say that's a, you know, uh, undefeated scenario, though, right? But not
Mhm.
completely victorious. How about your third pick of the
Third
week,
block
Mike?
of the week. It's another divisional game. This is Carolina at Atlanta. Carolina is 3.5 point underdogs. Um, against Atlanta. Of course, Carolina earlier this season shut out the Falcons 30 to nothing in Carolina. It's not a very long trip from Charlotte to Atlanta. I think that 3.5 points is kind of giving me pause. I think even if Carolina loses, they can keep it close. They can keep it within a field goal of Atlanta. I will still win that bet. So I like. I'm playing the percentages with that little half point there. I like that they're getting the half point. So um, Atlanta's been really up and down this year. Penix hasn't been so great. Kirk Cousins has been worse. And uh, you know, young. But the Panthers have somehow gotten a 5-5 record this year with Bryce Young as quarterback. So maybe they can eke out another victory over the Falcons. So I like them with the points here, plus 3.5 for Carolina.
That's one of those kind of crazy games. Like you don't really know what to expect. Well, yeah, yeah. What was the score of the first game they played?
30 to nothing Carolina. So you think that maybe Carolina has the Falcons number.
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah, yeah. That seems fairly safe, actually, with that, especially knowing what happened earlier this season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about your third lock of the week, Dr. Scaff?
My third pick, I'm also going with two teams that have played earlier this year. Uh, Baltimore and Cleveland. I think Baltimore will win this game fairly handily, but I'm actually going to make this pick on the over/under. Uh, Baltimore is favored by quite a bit, 8.5 points, which is why I don't quite like the spread on this one. And I've been terrible at spread, so I should be pushing more towards the over/unders from my history this season anyway. So I'm going to be taking the over in this game. It's a relatively low 41.5. When these two teams did play earlier this season was when Lamar Jackson was healthy in week two. The Ravens did win 41-17, so they put up 41 points on their own against Cleveland.
Mhm.
Then over under, yeah, it's only 41 and a half. That seems like that should be a fairly easy hurdle to cover there. So I'm going to take the over in Baltimore and Cleveland, Mike.
I don't think that's a bad bet. You kind of wonder, again, Cleveland's defense is pretty good. Maybe things will change in the second go around, but Baltimore hasn't been scoring a ton of points. Even with Jackson back, they haven't been scoring uh, that high. So I could see it being lower. So I'm going to go with the under, but I think going over is not a bad bet at all. in that game. 41 and a half isn't very many. I think it's the second lowest over under total of the week. There is a 39 and a half Houston, Tennessee uh, game. Um,
Is that your preferred game of the week? Like, is that the one you're looking forward to the most this week?
that is probably the game I'm least looking forward to, especially if it's the Davis Mills start.
Not even
Uh,
the CJ Stroud
yeah,
led
of course, the Chiefs.
Texans.
Denver's game is the one I'm looking forward to most. Uh, Detroit, Philadelphia, the Sunday night game is also a I think a good looking game.
Yeah.
There's several good games on the schedule. We've talked about a few of them. Um, I think probably probably the Detroit, Philadelphia, besides the Chiefs, Denver is the best one of the week though. The Seattle Rams we talked about is going to be a very good game as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yes,
Tampa Bay
and that
Buffalo.
occupies two of our picks even too. So
Yeah.
like we're obviously interested in that one.
Tampa Bay Buffalo is also another interesting game, I think, or in the early window.
And that's kind of a tough one to pick too, right? Because Tampa has not been playing all that well recently, but neither has Buffalo. Both teams are sort of expected to be playoff teams though still, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Baker Mayfield's he's kind of cooled down a little bit the last few weeks. Um,
Because he was kind of being talked about as a potential MVP candidate for the season. But is that talk done?
I think unless Tampa really starts rolling again, they it just I think probably just because there's been other candidates, but maybe just flavor of the week kind of situations. But um, Baker, I think he could work his way back into it. I think if the what is Tampa Bay's record right now? They are
6-3.
6-3. Yeah,
Yeah, 6-3.
coming off a loss. I think they had a bye recently as well. Um,
Yeah, the loss was right after the bye week, I think. Yeah.
so that kind of halted their momentum a little bit. So maybe, if the Buccaneers end up going 12-5 or something like that or better, it's possible that um, they can, I can see Baker getting some MVP consideration, especially with all the injuries that the receiving position that Tampa has gone through with Godwin and Abuka even being hurt now a bit, and Mike Evans maybe out for the rest of the season. So yeah, that could, Mayfield has made his way. He's made his case, I think, as a possible candidate. And also, there's a few others out there, of course. Maybe if the Chiefs and Mahomes get hot, I think he's probably the favorite. Um,
Yeah.
or conceivably, even if Lamar Jackson leads the uh, Ravens to a division playoffs, maybe since he was out a couple of games and they've shown how valuable he is to the team, that could warrant
Right.
consideration. Well, so
Yeah, because they did not do well at all in his absence. So
mhm. Well, but Huntley did, I guess, win one game for them,
yes, but
and
they
then
had to like
Jackson
but they had
lost
to
a
like
couple of
go
games
outside the
early.
organization to like bring somebody in then too, right?
Yeah, but Jackson
Although
did
he
win
had been
those
in
games
there in the
against the
past.
Chiefs and the Lions and the Bills. Those were all Jackson games that they lost. I guess most of the losses were with Jackson as quarterback, but I think those are early enough in the season maybe to forget about.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Are you still surprised that 10 weeks into the season that there are three teams tied for the best record all in the AFC, and it's the Patriots, Colts, and Broncos? Mike, would you have ever picked that before the season started?
Certainly not, no.
No.
Especially not having. I was thinking maybe the Broncos would probably have a good team this year. I didn't expect the Patriots or the Colts to be that great. I think the Patriots and the Colts have already, I believe, gone over their season uh, win total. They were seven. The win total was 7.5. So the Colts are already over it. The Patriots are 8.5 over under. So they're only half game behind it. Um, Denver was 9.5. So people thought Denver was probably going to be a possible playoff team in Vegas. So I'm not that surprised about Denver being pretty good. I guess I wouldn't have picked them to be 8-2 at this point, but yeah, I think you would have thought maybe it's the Chiefs, the Bills, Ravens, teams like that that would have been at the top, but now it's the um, uh, it's the Colts, the Patriots, and the Broncos, and the Chargers are also playing really good football too. So some new blood, but maybe the old guard will come back and catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chargers are the only 7-3 team in the AFC. And yeah, there are three 7-2 teams in the NFC. Eagles, Seahawks, and Rams. Would you guess those would be the leaders in the NFC before the season started?
I think the Rams and the Eagles, I think both teams were probably expected to be pretty good.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, I think not as much, but with Darnold there, I think they've had a good season. I think that's been um, yeah, I think that people thought the Seahawks would have a good defense and probably maybe be a fringe playoff team, but being one of the leaders in the conference, probably not. And of course, they play the Rams this week, so that's a um, big contest. Hopefully, um, it goes our way with uh, in the uh, in the locks of the week. But yeah, so a lot of interesting games coming up this week with some really good teams playing. So yeah, week 11 looks to be pretty exciting. Anything else in week 11 we want to talk about, or should we wrap up this week's edition of the One Track Power Hour?
Yeah, I think that's it, Mike.
That is it. Well, we didn't go off topic this week and discuss a TV. I did see the new Frankenstein in the theater.
Hmm.
Believe it's also a Netflix movie, so it might be on Netflix as well. But I saw the theater, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein. Really interesting movie, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, gruesome in some ways, but also very pretty in others. Uh, yeah,
Does it follow the traditional Frankenstein story, or does he diverge dramatically from the
it's
original
fairly
source
good.
material?
It's fairly faithful to the book, I think.
Yeah.
Not as much as any movie is, any Frankenstein movie is faithful to the book, but it's got some of the book elements in it, and it takes place a bit after the story of because the book was written in the very early 19th century. The movie takes place in the 1850s, and so a little bit later after Mary Shelley, I believe, had died. But it's a very yeah, I'd recommend watching it. It's an interesting movie.
Hmm.
Got some good actor, got Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein. Um, he does a good job. Uh,
And who plays Frankenstein's monster?
I don't know who it was. It was it was very gruesome kind of looking, but then he became somewhat attractive as he kind of he didn't have the bolts in the neck or anything like that, like
Ah,
Frankenstein. Um,
oh, it's Jacob Ellerby.
he's an actor I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, he's. I just saw him in something. It was like a World War I show, or was it? Was it World War II? Oh, it was World War II. The Narrow Road to the Deep North was the show that I think it's like takes place in Australia. It was a very
Hmm.
dark story there about the some Australian soldiers who were captured by Japanese.
Hmm.
And so they were in like essentially like a camp. And so it was
Yeah.
the story of them, trying to survive. It was pretty dark, Mike.
Yeah. Christoph Waltz was also in the movie. In the movie, he's always good.
Always good, yes, always. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
He was in the most recent season of Only Murders in the Building, Mike. Have you checked out that show?
I've seen a little bit of. I saw some of the first season. I haven't really stuck with it. I probably need to rewatch it.
Yeah,
It's,
it's worth it. It's the show is pretty good as a whole. So, but yes. Christoph Waltz does make an appearance.
Oh, good. He's always excellent.
Yeah, yes, he plays an eccentric billionaire in this one.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so we did have a little tangent.
there we go.
There we go.
We,
But
we
we'll have
fixed it.
we fixed it. We'll have some more interesting things that happen as time goes on next week. But this week we'll end here. As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He is Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the Warning Track Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms, including the one you're using. Um, and we are excited for this coming week to see how Week 11 in the NFL turns out. We'll be back next week to discuss Week 11 and also preview Week 12 and talk about any other things that strike our fancy, whether it's new Royals news or random entertainment tidbits that we run across. Something like that will definitely arise next week. So we'll have that to look forward to. And this week, we wish you good luck if you are making bets this weekend, as long as your interests do not conflict with ours. And of course, why would they? Because we were so good last week, you're going to want to follow our locks of the week this week because we were, of course, 6-0 last week. We're going to be 6-0, I'm sure, again this week. Why wouldn't we be? NFL betting is always it's such an easy task to get all those games right. So
Trends always continue, Mike.
trends.
Always.
Keep that in mind, gamblers. But one trend that will continue is that we will be back next week with another exciting, jam-packed episode of hard-hitting, hair-splitting analysis here at the Power Hour. So until next week, we are the One Track Power Hour. Wish you a good day.